He's a guy who was described to us as an A-gap player.
Yeah, which makes you worried if he's in there against a spread team.
Right, so he's going to be Desmond Morgan-ish, right, if he does get in. And that's kind of your best-case scenario. Not an ideal fit for a Don Brown defense, not an ideal fit for modern football. And you're not really seeing any talk about Gill or Mbembase.
No, those second-year linebackers have really not made any noise.
And even the freshmen, like you're hearing a little bit about Josh Ross, not really much about Singleton, not really much about Jordan Anthony. So,
and those guys had extenuating circumstances, but you know,
you'd like to hear a little something.
Yeah, Singleton's coming off the ACL. Anthony just bounced around a lot in high school.
Yeah, he played running back as a junior, that kind of thing. I just, if one of the starters goes down, that's going to be trouble.
Yeah.
And the other backup situation that I was pretty scared by was safety.
Sure, yeah.
So we mentioned this just now, like the backup for Tyreek Cannell is a true freshman, Jamaric Rhodes, who we'll talk about a little bit more later. And the backup for probably both the Viper and strong safety is Jordan Glasgow.
Yeah.
And Jordan Glasgow looked pretty good in the spring game. We've been hearing that when he goes up against guys like Donovan Peoples-Jones, it doesn't go very well.
There's an athleticism gap there.
And that's another one of those things with like Watson where he's a walk-on probably for a reason, and that's a very like athleticism-focused position, especially in a Don Brown defense that's going to ask you to run a lot of man.
Yeah, it's tough to compare Jordan to the other Glasgows because those guys were enormous linemen, and that's something where you can break through as a walk-on on a more consistent basis.
Yeah. So the back seven, like just getting to anyone except the starters is kind of a
health is going to be paramount for that defense.
I mean, the good news is if you look at the starting lineup in this defense, I've only got like that one cornerback slot is pretty much the only question mark I have. Everything else looks really, really good.
Yeah.
Or at least should be decent.
Yeah, like Devin Bush seems like he'll be a great fit in this defense and rack up some numbers.
Right, and Cannell's going to be fine, and Metellus is tracking well, and all of that looks good. The kind of holes that you used to see in old Michigan teams where they're like throwing out James Rogers as a starting cornerback, I don't think there's anything on this roster like that except maybe right tackle. And even there, they had 5 options, and they were sorting through them, and they seem to have found a guy that they like. So this is a team that lost almost everything, and they have those 2 really small Hoke classes at the top of the roster right now.
And if you're wondering what's killing depth,
that's what I mean, because Hoke took, I think, 31 guys in 2 years.
And not all of them hit.
Yeah, and Peppers is already gone from one of those classes. A bunch of guys have washed out. So that's good news for next year when Michigan loses basically Mo Hurst and Mason Cole and nothing else.
Yes.
But for depth this year, if you're getting past the starting lineup, especially on defense, you are pretty much immediately hitting freshmen.
Yeah, you're hoping some talented freshmen grow up very quickly.
Some of them are redshirt freshmen, so that's a little bit less worrying, but this is not a situation where Michigan has something like they had last year where they had so many defensive linemen that if one of them went down, like Monet did, it was like whatever.
Yeah.
It was a situation that was very, very different. And my last up arrow was actually Brian Monet.
Nice.
Because I went over, I think everybody remembers that 3rd and 1 that he stuffed up against Ohio State. That was really impressive. The thing is, he was out there for most of that drive, and he had 4 plays that I was happy to clip because he was beating up on Michael Jordan. That was a large portion of the reason that he had such a big negative in that game is Monet was crushing him. And he was doing the kind of things that I think we all expected Monet to do. He was pushing the pocket back and he was disconnecting. He's not going to be a pass rusher.
Yeah, but if you single block that guy, the pocket's going to get pushed.
Right, yeah. So seeing that from him against the guy that he's going to go up against in the biggest game of the year, it was reassuring.
That's encouraging.
He's, Michael Jordan's going to get better faster because he's a freshman, but I still think Monet is going to have a clear advantage in that matchup, and that was great to see.
Should also add that Monet's backup looked pretty decent in at least one clip we saw from this fall.
So you are, of course, referring to Aubrey Solomon,
I sure am.
Who gave Ben Bredesen the business in the Oklahoma drill.
He whipped him pretty hard.
He did.
Yeah.
And the other interesting part of the Oklahoma drill was when they had Monet out there, they had him matched up against Cesar Ruiz, who's probably 320 pounds. He's a true freshman, but a guy who was the most powerful offensive lineman in the country last year, and all they have him doing is blowing that running back.
Yeah.
And you hear Madison clapping, going that's right, that's what we want.
The running back was totally irrelevant in that part of the drill.
So he's going to be a space eater, the likes of which that Michigan hasn't seen since, Gabe Watson.
Yeah.
It's been a minute since
It's been a while.
We've been going with those Glasgow and Mike Martin types.
Those are fine too, but it's nice to have a planet out there that you can put in against power teams.
You have any ups and downs left, or?
Special teams is my last up. Just that the guys who were supposed to win the job have seemingly won those jobs, Quinn Nordine and Brad Robbins. It's the scholarship guys.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we saw Nordine's kick in the spring game. I'm still flying high off that.
There hasn't been any waiver there either with Nordine.
Exactly. And that's like the last thing you want to hear about kickers is like he was looking good one day and he wasn't the next, but with Nordine, it's been very consistent, like he's got this job.
And we know that Michigan actually hired an analyst whose like sole job is the kicking game. And I think that's an uptick not only in Nordine, but also the two walk-ons who were challenging him.
Yeah.
Those guys both had field goals in the spring game that were not as impressive as Nordine's, but they looked very smooth. It was all systems go. And when I did the recruiting profile for Brad Robbins, the punter, I was like, this guy just seems okay. And then there's this video from the kicking camp where he's just booting it.
He is really booting them.
And they're timing it, and it's like 5 seconds, 5.2 seconds. And the whole camp is just watching him and going, whoa!
And this is a camp full of punters and kickers.
So. And long snappers. Easily impressed long snappers. So I feel better about the team as a whole after doing this preview process.
Yeah.
Because you feel Michigan has lost 10 starters on defense, 7 starters on offense, and how can they possibly endure all this? And then the things that the coaches have said and just kind of the shape of the depth chart, or what it seems like as we go through fall camp, it seems like a team where almost everything is settled.
Yeah, which is remarkable given the amount of turnover, but they really do seem to have things set in place. We're really focusing on 2 positions that we're worried about, and in past years it was a whole lot more than 2.
It's like 2 out of 24, and maybe punt returner is like half of
and even then they have so many bodies to throw at it that you think that'll work out somehow.
So it's going to be a really interesting year, because if they get the wrong injury, they could... Like they had the Newsom injury last year, and I think that was
the wrong injury.
That was the wrong injury. That's the injury that kept them from making the playoff.
Yeah.
And if they get the wrong injury this year, whether it's Cannell or
either the inside linebacker,
I don't even want to say Gary, but
please don't.
Or Hurst, like there's going to be a big drop off. So staying healthy is paramount, and then getting lucky with a couple of guys who are up and comers.
Yeah. And at least the good news is that at least right tackle, they have a few different bodies to throw at that position. Cornerback, a little bit less so.
None of those bodies make me feel good. Like, let's throw a true freshman out there. That doesn't make me feel good. Let's throw Jawan Bishop-Beatty out there. I'm not really feeling that one either. Runyon, it feels like...
Yeah, I mean, we're grasping at lottery tickets right now, and, the more the better there, at least.
Well, I mean... We'll talk about this when we talk about the schedule a bit more, but this is it seems like a very low variance year, where
there are 4 games really where you can see Michigan at full strength being in a game, and other than that,
and they'll probably be in one more just because football is weird and terrible sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
but
it
is football.
Like the absolute bottom this season hits, like even if it's not going that well, is probably like 9-3, because they're probably going to be good enough to win
one of those 4 tests.
Right, especially because like the first test is
becoming less of a test by the second.
Right, yes. I mean, has anyone gotten suspended since we started this podcast?
I should check. I still haven't written that preview because I don't know who's playing.
All right, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to discuss the Shark Humpers.
It's painless. It's online. It's group ordering made easy for your next custom printed apparel order. Pogo from Underground Printing takes the aggravation out of custom printing for a group. Whether you're selling shirts for a fundraiser, organizing a large event, or trying to collect sizes and payment for a family reunion, Underground Printing is here to help. Save time and hassle every step of the way with our easy-to-use site. No more guessing what to order, chasing people down to pay, or wasting time trying to sort out who needs what. We'll set it up and you can just sit back and relax. We can even take care of individual shipping. To learn more about Pogo, visit us at any of our convenient locations or at pogo.undergroundshirts.com.
Hi, this is Seth from MGoBlog. So we bought our home through a local bank. Family friend was the banker, but the underwriter was just it was a nightmare. So we went to refinance. I talked to Matt. It was so different. He shops a loan to different underwriters, so we were a priority for them. And he knows what they needed from us ahead of time, so we didn't have to keep digging through our old paperwork. He's incredibly ethical. He knows the system. He knows where they take advantage. And he keeps a small shop, and he does all the work himself, so he keeps all the costs down. Anyway, that's why I highly recommend Matt. He's licensed in Michigan, Ohio, and Florida. You can give him a call at 734-531-9950. Visit his new office in Ann Arbor on State Street, or go to HomeSureLending.com/MGoBlog, and he'll take care of you. That's HomeSure Lending, NMLS number 1161358.
If you need a place to stay in Ann Arbor and don't want to be stuck out by I-94, there's a new hotel downtown, and the owners, who should be well known to the Michigan community, have asked our help to get the word out. The Martin family, yes, that Martin family, recently opened a Residence Inn Ann Arbor downtown, just a block from Main Street and a short walk to Michigan Stadium. They're competitively priced and offer a free hot breakfast, free Wi-Fi, a fully equipped kitchen in every suite, and an indoor pool. That's the Residence Inn Ann Arbor downtown.
And we're going to talk about Florida, but first we have a live read. This is a term of art in radio. If you listen to the round table, Sam does them very well. We're going to do this very poorly.
This is a very professional podcast.
Hopefully, Lantana Hummus will tolerate it. So, I was supposed to be eating this, but they just gave me an unopened thing with nothing.
The fingers, man.
I'm not going to eat hummus with my fingers.
Around a bunch of really expensive equipment.
But I bought this stuff before they became a sponsor. It's actually good. They've got like this dill one that's crazy. It's like cucumber and dill. Oh, I got a spoon.
Oh, here we go.
Spoons from Matt Demarest, everybody.
Now we get to eat hummus in front of people.
Just hummus. All right, we're gonna mix it up after you. This is the edamame one.
It looks and smells.
Edamame made with edamame and white beans and topped with toasted red pepper and toasted sesame seeds.
Now the key's going to be not getting this on the microphone.
Yeah, let's not do that. It's good.
That is excellent.
It's a very visual podcast. Thank you.
Extremely visual podcast.
Well done. All right, we've now eaten hummus on the radio.
Yes, we have.
To satisfy our sponsors. Lantana Hummus is available at over 400 grocery stores nationwide, including Meijer, Bush's, and Kroger. Now, the Florida Gators,
what's left of them,
such as they are, they have 10 people suspended
as of now.
There were rumors that there were going to be a couple more today, but those have not come to fruition
yet.
But the guys who are suspended, only about 3 of them were going to be contributors, right?
Yeah. Now, 2 of them were their 2 best skill position players on offense, which is a huge problem for a team that's had a little bit of trouble moving the ball in the last couple years.
Yeah.
So losing Antonio Callaway is a huge blow to them because he was by far their best receiver last year. He was at 8.5 yards per target. You'd have to get down to their number 6 receiver before you have anybody else that even cracks 7.
And he's like a little 5'11", dynamo guy.
Yeah, he's like a slot bug plus in terms of like he could line up on the outside and go catch passes downfield, but his greater skill was definitely catching stuff underneath, doing the catch and run thing.
Like not the kind of guy I want to see in game one against the secondary that's one junior and two sophomores, three sophomores. Right?
He was going to be a worrisome matchup there. So not having that, I mean, he's the other thing about him is he's been in and out of trouble his whole career. So this wasn't the most shocking thing that this came to pass.
No, but it sounds like that's
but it's
a Florida trend at this point.
It seems to be. And then the starting running back, Jordan Scarlett, who I've watched a fair amount of clips of him over the summer, which is now time that I've lit on fire. And I was really impressed by his ability because their offensive line has not been good. And his ability to just keep churning and grind out 5 yards.
He's like a kind of a Devion Smith kind of back, right?
Yeah, a little bit lower to the ground, but that same ability where, you know, he's not an open field runner necessarily, but he's somebody who will generate those 15, 20, 25-yard carries just by breaking a couple initial tackles.
See, that one doesn't really move the needle with me because that's not the kind of back that I'm afraid of with this.
That's true, and the guy who's stepping in, LaMichael Perrine, is he's more of a receiving threat.
Yeah,
and he's a little bit quicker. He doesn't have that tackle breaking ability that Scarlett does, as best I can tell. But would they lose their possibly more than just the loss of Scarlett himself is the depth, because Mark Thompson was their other rotation running back last year. He was not particularly impressive, and after that, it's true freshmen, and they're talented true freshmen, but they're still true freshmen.
So pass pickups might be kind of an issue.
It could be, because even Perrine, the guy who's starting, is only a sophomore, so. And he was mostly going out into routes when he was in on pass plays last year.
And the third guy is a defensive end who had like 27 tackles last year. He's a rotation guy.
Yeah, they'll be
fine defensively.
They've got some good players there and depth behind them. CeCe Jefferson is probably their best defender, former 5-star, strong side defensive end who can play inside and out, even though he's pretty light for lining up on the interior.
Is he listed at 6'1", 242?
They do. I think that's a typo. I swear he's bigger than that. But he's shown the ability to hold up inside. He'll be lining up more on the edge. They've got at least 3 defensive tackles that they can throw in there and feel pretty decent about. Depth after that gets a little iffy, but they can slide Jefferson inside on passing downs. Real obvious ones, at least. But they've also got a good emerging pass rusher in Jabari Zuniga on the other end. So they've got some guys who are going to test Michigan's tackles.
They always have good names.
They do.
Florida is always just loaded with, especially on defense, just guys who were named well.
Jeremiah Moon is stepping in as strong side linebacker because of an injury. That's a pretty strong name.
And they just decided on their starting quarterback, Felipe Franks, who is a top 100 guy who's kind of entered college with a Shane Morris kind of reputation. Big arm, raw as heck.
Yeah. Someone sent me a screen cap from his first spring game, which I mistakenly thought was from this year's spring game, in which he apparently threw 3 interceptions on his first 4 attempts. Like a little Shane Morris trying to throw the ball through linebackers type of thing there. He was far less turnover. He didn't throw a pick in this spring game, and he had some impressive throws, but he doesn't have a cannon, and he has some...
I thought that was like his main aspect.
He's got a stronger arm than Luke Del Rio, but that's not a great starting point.
Okay.
I thought he was floating some of his throws from the spring game. Maybe he was just trying to put touch on him.
Yeah.
But he also kind of was trying to guide some throws and miss some relatively easy ones. So I think there's going to be a chance for Michigan to get a turnover or two because that situation is very unsettled, especially since they have not ruled out that they'll play both other quarterbacks as well.
Yeah, they have...
Which is weird because I don't know what Luke Del Rio brings to the table, to be honest.
Malik Zara is a guy who's mobile, and they'd have a package for that. But just how deep this quarterback competition went, I think would give Florida fans pause because, Del Rio was really terrible last year.
I mean, they were really trying to give Austin Appleby the job instead of him, and they were just kind of passing it back and forth. My guess is I would assume they really wanted Zaire to win that job.
Yeah. But he did the Rudak thing where he showed up in fall camp and he's trying to win a quarterback job.
And some of the word leaking out from Florida insiders is that he has not mastered the playbook yet. So,
right. As you'd expect.
So they'll probably have him as a situational guy, but it is going to make it more obvious what they're trying to do when he goes in there.
I mean, Franks is a guy who might be a dude down the road, but if he gets sped up by Michigan's pass rush, he starts panicking, throws some interceptable balls. I mean, I think, what's the over-under for Frank's turnovers in this game?
I'd put it at 1.5, considering he's probably going to throw a pick, and I wouldn't be surprised if they get a sack fumble in there somewhere, because Florida's line has turned over a little bit, and then also apparently their left tackle and easily their best lineman, Martez Ivey, their scout insider mentioned that he's been dinged up. He missed 10 days of spring ball. He missed some days in fall camp, and they're saying he'll certainly start, but that he'll be playing at around 80%. And playing at 80% as the best lineman going up against this defensive line,
yeah, that's for sure.
Seems like a recipe for disaster for those guys.
Yeah,
and they're not super experienced on the rest of the line either. So I mean, how much? They've got size. That's the one thing they have in spades. But other than that, especially given what Don Brown is going to throw at them, where you've got an inexperienced offensive line, a new center, up everything that Don Brown throws at them, I'd be surprised.
And this is a situation where I can't imagine like a worse defensive coordinator to go up against in game one.
Yeah, it is not ideal as a first-year guy, and especially since we've seen how Doug Nussmeier operates. He's not the most creative, I would say, of offensive coordinators.
I mean, we had the 1 year.
We did, but we've also seen him at other stops where, like, other than Alabama, where he had a ton of talent and didn't have to. They added variety to that offense after he left. They spread it out a lot more Nussmeier. I get McElwain and Nussmeier mixed sometimes. They're both unremarkable OCs who passed through Alabama.
We don't talk about the shark thing, though.
We have strong feelings about it.
I have unbelievably passionate feelings about this. If you don't know what happened, there was a picture of a man, sort of.
You might see this picture tomorrow.
He's a jolly man, and he was lying on top of a dead shark in a boat.
The man happens to be naked,
and that
was an important part of this.
It kind of looked like Jim McElwain, and it kind of looked like the guy who owns Jimmy John's. And so the internet was like going, ha ha ha, this looked. But nobody really thought it was Jim McElwain, and then
he took it so seriously.
Like 3 times this fall, he's been asked about it, and he just gets like, "Oh, this hurt our program. This hurt our family. It hurt everything about me." I don't know what that is.
George W. Bush.
I don't know. I don't know what that is. I am the worst accent person in the world.
This is why I don't even try.
And like he just took it so seriously, and he was so upset about it, and I was like, I lowered my opinion of him an insane amount. Like I was like, well, maybe this guy's going to make it. And
because the smart thing would have been to laugh at it and be like, yeah, that guy does kind of look like me. That is clearly not me. Yeah, and then move on. And instead, he really took it seriously.
and I was just like, okay, maybe he'll make it. I don't know. And now it's like, no. They're going to go like 7-5 this year, and he's going to get fired. Maybe he'll get one more year, but like I just can't imagine that being a successful football coach.
I'm having a hard time that too.
There's a rumor. I'm not saying that this is true, but there's a rumor that he like employed like an SEO company to like try to scrub this non-information.
Does he not know that is impossible? I really hope he did try that.
So like, I feel so much better about this game because of the shark thing.
It's a bizarre intangible to throw in there. But I'm with you.
And you know there's going to be like some Michigan students at the game, and one of them's going to be dressed up as like left shark.
Holding up a misuse sign. Call me.
And like he's going to see it, and he's going to get so angry he's going to
get flustered. They need like someone wandering around with a tuba playing the Jaws theme from different angles in the stadium. Just to see if he'll like whip around while the play's going on.
Oh my God!
I so wish this game was at Michigan Stadium, because like what the student section could do with this, it's killing me.
I mean, you know that whenever they go on the road in the SEC, like the bands are just going to do the Jaws theme, like the whole time.
The whole time, yeah. He asked for it, and he's going to get it.
I mean, like now I think he's going to get fired, but I don't want him to get fired because this is just going to be like a hilarious running joke for the duration of his career.
Yeah, it really is.
Don't get mad on the internet. He got mad on the internet.
It's the worst thing to do online.
Do we have any like serious things about Florida left? Are you worried about something? Like their Tyree Cleveland guy?
He scored like a 97-yard touchdown against LSU where he beat a guy on a fly route and then shook off the tackle attempt, and that was pretty impressive. I think he only had 13 other catches last year, and it was at a 50% catch rate. So
freshman.
True freshman, deep threat, so definitely a boom or bust guy.
He's been getting like a ton of hype.
They are having he's an athlete.
They've just found the shark picture, a very visual podcast.
Okay, here we go. There it is.
That's
you're going to see a cropped version of that in the preview tomorrow.
For all of you at home, just envision it. It's really wonderful.
So they do still have some talent at receiver to the point where Michigan's corners will get tested. Freddie Swain's an interesting option. They've got, I think their starting slot is not actually going to be their starting slot. It was the guy who started last year. He was very inefficient. He's only 5'8", but they've got
5'8".
Yeah, 5'8". He is like Martavius Odom's size. But they get back Dre Massey, who was getting a ton of hype heading into the season last year and then got hurt. And a true freshman, Kadarius Toney, who they were actually playing a little bit at quarterback in the spring, kind of with whatever package they'll use for Zaire. He's a really impressive open field athlete, but how much he's gotten down the offensive wide receiver is probably a pretty big question at this point.
Well, and then the other thing you mentioned is that their back seven is pretty experienced, right?
Yeah, I mean, they turned over, they've lost a lot of guys to the NFL from that secondary over the past 2 seasons. So their number one corner was their nickel last year. And Duke Dawson was pretty good in that role, but, it's a big transition to slide over to number one. And then their other starting corner, who's also their starting nickel, is Marco Wilson, who is a true freshman and the younger brother of one of their graduated corners. So while he'll look the same, the experience drops off pretty significantly there.
He's listed at like 170 pounds.
Yeah,
it's kind of like if Michigan was starting Ambry Thomas.
Yeah, so you're looking at that, and like, I'd also be worried for them in that he beat out a senior for that spot. I think they probably have preferred for the senior to win that job on the outside. Instead, he's going to be a guy who's inserted when they go to the nickel, and Wilson will slide inside. And everybody else is our freshman at corner. So safety, though, a little bit steadier. Nick Washington's a redshirt senior.
Well, they lost one of their projected starters.
Yeah, Marco Harris was jinxed by the HDTV preview, apparently. Marcel Harris. He tore his Achilles. So that's
and they had to like move a nickel back to safety.
So Chauncey Gardner was a guy who they were looking at. I had him projected as their top corner.
Okay.
And now he's starting at safety for them. So he's a good player, but moving positions, and it's something that's done out of necessity instead of out of getting your best 5 out there initially.
All right. So give me a prediction. What's going on?
I think Michigan's going to win and cover. I feel, and that's with the line moving a point or two since the suspensions have started trickling out.
Yeah.
I was already confident about this matchup, even with both teams at full strength.
Yeah.
Just because of the coaching matchup, if nothing else.
Well, I feel like everybody's underestimating Michigan because it's like, they lost all these starters.
Yeah, they're looking at numbers on like Phil Sheets' chart.
They don't realize that. Okay, they lost 4 starters on the defensive line, but look at that defensive line.
Yeah, it's 4 more starters. Let's be real. And also, the things that you're worried about with Michigan, namely like an opposing team with a great passing game coming in and picking on inexperienced corners.
Yeah.
Florida does not appear to be in position to do that. Okay. They're probably going to have to try because they also are a little banged up front and lost their best running back.
Well, but once you start doing that, then it's like, can you pass protect?
Yeah, so Michigan should be able to pin their ears back a little bit against this line, and I don't see Florida being able to move the ball consistently enough and avoid turnovers to the level that they're going to need to keep up.
All right, give me a score.
Let's go 34-20.
34-20, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I said 75-2 on TK this morning.
I like it.
A little bit optimistic, but... All right, we're going to take one more break. We're going to come back, and we're going to have a gimmicky top 5 that may be one for the ages.
The places you'll go may seem far from Ann Arbor. From San Francisco to St. Louis to Shanghai. But as members of the Alumni Association, we're never far. Because Michigan is more than a place. It's a mindset that connects us. For those who leave Michigan, but for whom Michigan never leaves, this is where you belong. The Alumni Association of the University of Michigan. Join today at umalumni.com.
Everyone has their own definition of true wealth, and it's our job to help them understand what the definition is for them. We look at everything from college to retirement and lifestyle planning, as far as estate planning and building their own legacy, helping them understand what their goals are, and then backing in from there.
Peak Wealth Management founder Nick Hopwood has been a part of the MGoBlog community from almost the very beginning. If you've put in the work to reach that point in your career, it's probably time to talk to him about your financial future. Stop by his office in Plymouth or visit peakwm.com/MGoBlog.
If you need a place to stay in Ann Arbor and don't want to be stuck out by I-94, there's a new hotel downtown, and the owners, who should be well known to the Michigan community, have asked our help to get the word out. The Martin family, yes, that Martin family, recently opened the Residence Inn Ann Arbor downtown, just a block from Main Street and a short walk to Michigan Stadium. They're competitively priced and offer a free hot breakfast, free Wi-Fi, fully equipped kitchen in every suite, and an indoor pool. That's the Residence Inn Ann Arbor downtown.
If you find yourself on the wrong side of the law in Ann Arbor or around Metro Detroit, you want a Michigan man in the huddle. Call former prosecutor and now criminal defense attorney Jonathan Paul at 248-924-9458 or visit his website, michiganlawgrad.com.
Time, our gimmicky top 5 is we were asked to come up with some prospecting names because Ace was like, let's do it. Yep. And Ben Mason, of course, spurred this because he has this headshot.
Oh my God, the headshot.
Where he looks like the crazy guy in the posse who's just there for the murder.
Yeah, he's there to kill.
And
for nothing else.
It was wonderful because, of course, Henry Poggi is Old Bandit, and now he looks suave and sophisticated.
Yeah, it's disappointingly suave,
and not like he's he's about to murder somebody who, I don't know, a raccoon. Yeah, he's not about to kill and eat a raccoon,
or like strangle a man who talks shit about the Big Lebowski.
So yes, Old Bandit is R.I.P. and we need more prospecting names.
We do.
Ace, you're number 5.
So we've had trouble coming up with a nickname for Jamark Woods because the one that was suggested was so disappointing it was actually his last name. So Jamark Woods is now Old Jamark Woods.
That is also my number 5.
Great minds.
I think I should say it because then that's the Pert Hapley thing again.
Yes.
Yes, Old Jamark Woods is his nickname because that's just his name. Sponsor, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
His mic's not on. That's not great.
Hello.
Now it's on. There we go. Now it's on. How are you?
I'm doing well. You guys sprung this top 5 on me in the last minute, and I'm just not good at old prospector names. I'm going to be honest, that's not in my wheelhouse. If you want to, save money on a refinance or get a low rate on a purchase, I'm your guy. But prospector names are not my thing.
Okay, but you do, even if they're lame, you do have a list.
I don't have a list. What I'm going to do is I'm going to moderate your list.
You're going to moderate.
I think we're going to add a new thing where I'm going to say that's just not a good name, or I'm going to say that you guys did a great job. I'll comment on you. So the first one, you guys started out hot. That was a good one. I like it. So I'm going to give you a 2 thumbs up on the first one.
You pay us money, so we have to endure this.
Yeah, you can't. You have no choice.
Well, this is not
money and beer.
This is not how I envisioned my life turning out.
Dance, Brian. Dance.
All right. Ace, you're number 4.
Omori Samuels. He's a man who, when you see the picture, you kind of know that he needs a nickname. So I'm calling him Old Thunderlegs.
Old Thunderlegs. I did call him the Versailles of thighs when I.
That might be a little bit better than Old Thunderlegs, to be honest.
Really, come on.
That rolls off the tongue pretty well.
Old Thunderlegs is good. Well, come on, rate him. Go.
Old Thunder Thighs is that
Old Thunderlegs.
Old Thunder Thighs.
1 to 10. Give that a ranking.
6.
6. Fair. Okay, my number 4 is O-L-O-A-O, which is Kyle Kalis. Because he's an OL who's...
You had to get a shot in at him for just missing assignments.
I watched a lot of his own stretches where he didn't block guys. It's not a nice one, I'm sorry.
It looks better in print than it does real off the tongue.
All right, give me a rating.
4.5.
4.5! Coming out on top.
All right, 1-0 Ace. All right, you guys tied the first time.
Yeah, we had the same one.
Ace number 3.
Donovan Jeter, who had some quotes about Notre Dame when he changed his commitment to Michigan. So, old shade thrower for Donovan Jeter, which, he was throwing some shade.
All right, I've said my opinion. What's yours?
That's a reach. I'm gonna give it a 4. I'm gonna give that one.
I don't actually have a person for this one, but I just
cheating.
I just like it so much. All right, it's Jalen Kelly Powell, and he's hamburglar because he's like burgling.
This gets a 1.
He's burgling the ham in the slot. It
sounds like a McDonald's character.
He's like Honey Badger. This
isn't a prospect. This is a dude in a freaking Happy Meal.
Oh, hamburglar. He's old burgling the hams.
I'm going to give it a 5 because Ace is trying to be the judge right now.
So I overstepped my bounds.
Victory.
5, so 1-1.
We're not scoring very well.
No, we're not.
Ace.
I'm hoping this will redeem myself.
Ace, you're number 2.
Because I thought, prospected names we have stuck with the old whatever format. But
are you breaking the format?
You can switch it up a little bit. Chris Evans is Kid Whistleneck.
Oh, that's
because he's walking around with a whistle all the time. He's got the kid and play hair. He's young.
Yeah.
So Kid Whistleneck. You got to have a kid in the posse.
Yeah. Well, all right.
I think he's actually Kid McSpectacles.
You can't have a mix.
Because he's Kid Spectacles then. He's got his glasses on in those pictures, man. He's got some. I wonder if he wears contacts because he doesn't have rec specs on.
Now you are getting outside the bounds.
Hey, you can't tell the judge what to do.
He's still paying the bills.
Yeah. All right, well, I'll put a stop payment on that check. You watch.
This is not for public consumption. Well, you haven't actually judged.
The MGO podcast gets held hostage.
I think Ace, that's pretty good. I'm going to go 7.
7. All right. So this is Dave Brandon's.
That would come up.
He's old J. Ira and Nikki Harris family.
That's a good one.
The J. Ira Nikki Harris family foundation.
No, he's just the J. That's what he is.
That's a tie. That's a draw.
We're
going 1-1.
Oh, so this is the tiebreaker round.
Yeah. I'm cheating a little bit on my number 1 because I offered it last night.
Well, he hasn't heard it.
So we were chatting about the picture of Ben Mason. His team photo this year. He's got like the evil pointy mustache thing going.
It's wonderful.
His eyes are a little bit uneven. He's got like a wrestling ear poking out. His tie is askew. He just looks like he just walked in from a street fight, but like a very dapper street fight.
Yeah, it's 1880. It's Old West.
Like Peaky Blinders almost.
Yes.
Like Gangs of New York, something like that. So I offered Old Murderface as his nickname. Also, this is not a prospector name, but after looking at that picture more, I think Thick Dick Dastardly could also be his nickname.
What?
Because he looks like Dick Dastardly, but just wider.
I don't know who that is.
He's the cartoon guy with the evil pencil mustache. It's Dick Dastardly.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Old Murderface.
Maybe introduce Dick Dastardly before you bring that name.
Starting with Thick was, a bit corny. I was a
little bit like, what? Like, the third word was very important there.
It really was.
I'm going to go 7.5. There's a lot of thought put into that one. That was pretty good.
All right, this one is Wilton Spate because he is a tree man. He's Groot.
Okay.
And I was upset because he lost like 23 pounds, but apparently
he's less Groot-like.
He's like lost maybe 5 pounds on the roster.
Okay.
So apparently that was fictional, as most roster things are. But like his ability to be a tree who you try to tackle him and he's like, I am Groot, throw ball.
7.51.
Oh!
Look at that.
Oh!
7.625. We're going to go with 1/8 of a percent since it's a mortgage company. So 7.625, Brian wins.
All right, now I like this.
Yeah, I don't like it anymore. It stopped being fun.
It's not being fun entirely?
Well, no.
Somebody get these guys a beer. They said it's not fun.
I already have
Let's get it.
It's getting more fun. We can't drink and talk at the same time. That's not like, I don't know how many throats I'm supposed to have.
Yeah, I can't like circular breeze.
This is not good with your other nickname for. Anyway, that's definitely the end of the segment, isn't it? Yes. We're going to come back. We're going to take an overall look at Michigan's schedule, and we are going to predict season records.
Want the perfect game day outfit? Underground Printing has unique, great-fitting apparel and officially licensed apparel from legendary Michigan names like Woodson, Howard, Schembeckler, Hoover, and more. UGP also specializes in custom-printed apparel and promotional items for groups, events, and businesses. Whether you need one shirt as a gift or 1,000 shirts for a charity walk, Underground can customize almost anything for groups large or small. To learn more, visit Underground Printing at one of our 3 convenient locations around Ann Arbor or online at undergroundshirts.com.
In southeastern Michigan, the yearly cost for a nursing home averages $90,000. It doesn't have to, though. Reed McCarthy founded Ann Arbor Elder Law after handling a tricky situation for his own family. Years of experience later, his boutique firm works with clients across southeast Michigan, dealing with Medicaid planning, long-term care, and tax, disability, and family law, not to mention family dynamics. If you have a family member who may need that level of care, or if you're ready to start your own estate plan, Reed can give you a plan for the future. Visit AnnArborElderLaw.com or call 734-945-9693. That's 734-945-9693.
The places you'll go may seem far from Ann Arbor. From San Francisco to St. Louis to Shanghai. But as members of the Alumni Association, we're never far. Because Michigan is more than a place. It's a mindset that connects us. For those who leave Michigan, but for whom Michigan never leaves, this is where you belong. The Alumni Association of the University of Michigan. Join today at umalumni.com.
If you're looking for a mortgage and you're a Michigan fan, there's only one place to go. HomeSure Lending. Both fair and honest, HomeSure Lending is local, efficient, and small enough so you'll work directly with the owner, Matt Demarest. Matt bleeds maize and blue, and so does his family.
Hey, this is Matt Demarest. I'm the owner of HomeSure Lending. We're a small, local, family-owned business, and so I'm here with a couple of members of my family, Cooper and Colby, my boys. Cooper, how old are you, buddy?
9.
Colby, what about you?
7.5.
Who's the best team in the whole country?
Michigan!
Can I get a Go Blue?
Go Blue!
We're a family business here in Ann Arbor, and I'd love to serve you and your family with any of your mortgage needs.
Located at 2723 South State Street in Ann Arbor. For more info, go to HomeSureLending.com. That's HomeSureLending. You can reach Matt at 734-531-9950. HomeSure Lending, NMLS 1161358, Equal Housing Lender.
For a schedule overview, Ace has been tasked with ordering Michigan's opponents from the easiest to conquer to the least easiest. I think there's a different word for that.
Yeah, you know.
But I'm very tired. I mentioned this at the top. I can't believe I'm conscious.
You've written some words this week.
Ace, you're number 12.
Cincinnati, which is a bit of an upset at number 12.
Oh my God.
I think we expected a certain team there, but Cincinnati is in the position of being a mediocre team from a pretty mediocre at best conference that is turning over a coaching staff after a period where their recruiting tailed off under Tommy Tuberville. It is Luke Fickell's first head coaching job. His coordinator hires were relatively uninspiring, and the team loses a decent amount too. So there wasn't a ton of talent there to begin with. There's going to be a dip this year.
Really?
They're learning new systems, and the coordinators. One was a guy who was calling plays under Brian Kelly, which is kind of like you're not really in charge of your thing.
Yeah.
And the other has, I think, spent 1 year as a linebackers coach and was previously a grad assistant. It's Marcus Freeman, who was an Ohio State linebacker not very long ago.
Oh, yeah.
So
they're recruiting well, though, but that's not going to help them this year.
Yeah, it's not going to help them this year. They will be better before long because they are stealing the dudes Michigan State would normally get, which we enjoy. But for right now, they're worse than Rutgers.
Ace! You're number 11.
Rutgers. I mean, they're bad. Let's be real. They've got.
Is there any hope that they can be like competitive against anybody?
I mean, they've got a decent secondary. I like their corners a little bit.
They lost 49-0 to Michigan State last year.
They did. I mean, they're really bad, but they do bring back a fair amount. and that was year one under Chris Ash, so you do expect at least some step forward in terms of just comfort within the system.
This is still like a 3-9
Yeah,
team.
this is still a really crappy team.
Ace, number 10.
Purdue, which gets the edge over Rutgers because that game is away. But other than that, I mean, they do have David Blau, who is supposed to be like kind of the rock of their team. He hasn't actually won that quarterback competition
really
yet. I mean, I know
that's my
new coach. It might just be,
I do like their motivational thing. They hired like a very Purdue coach.
Yeah, in terms of like compared to where teams were expected to hire guys, like I think they had the best hire of any Big Ten team last year, getting Braun. Like that's what Purdue should always be doing, getting a guy running a ridiculous offense and like get the personnel to match and go with it. But it's going to be a rocky transition this year.
Because Daryl Hazel was a complete non-entity everywhere.
He was bad, and including in recruiting, so the talent is just not there right now.
Ace number 9.
Air Force, which brings back way less than the 3 teams below them, but basically they have nothing coming back except their quarterback and their running back, who are both good, but there's nothing coming back except the system.
Okay, but
what gets them in 9th is the system.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'd be dead last year. They bring back almost nothing.
Michigan almost lost to them last time.
They did. Different coaching staff, different times, markedly different times. And I think Don Brown is going to have some things drawn up. Michigan is not going to play a safety in the parking lot against Air Force this time around. This is a game where they rank this high because they might put together 1 or 2 frustrating touchdown drives, which separates them from the bottom 3 teams on this list.
All right, I'm more scared of them than a lot
of people. Next team on this list, possibly?
Ace number 8,
Michigan State. I am plummeted. They would have been 2nd or 3rd on this list last year.
What a great thing to say.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we all know that Michigan State went through the off-season from hell after the season from hell.
Both of their starting Ds on their depth chart are walk-ons.
Yeah. Their second corner is either going to be like a guy who did nothing in that defensive backfield last year, or like a 5'10", no-star true freshman. So, I mean, the safeties are the guys who were backing up last year's safeties, and then when they came in, they were just as bad. And those safeties were as bad as I've ever seen a safety duo be. And as a Michigan fan, that is saying something.
It kind of feels like they got figured out. Like the Narduzzi defense has been, like he's not doing it at Pitt. Like it's kind of been downloaded at Michigan State as well.
Yeah, and they're still kind of playing out the string with that. Yeah, and it's not working. And then on offense, I mean, they lost a chunk of their receiving core, both because Corley was booted from the team, and then they needed Justin Lane as their number 1 cornerback. So they have lost some talent there. They're just going to give the ball to L.J. Scott as many times as he can handle it, and then when he can't handle it, they'll give it to Gerald Holmes.
Their starting left tackle weighs how many pounds?
284, and he's 6'8". Rashawn Gary is going to be picking Cole Chewins out of his teeth. I don't think they're going to have any ability to block Michigan's defensive line. It's going to feel a lot like last year, except the score is going to be a lot. The gap's going to be wider there because there isn't going to be like the chance that Michigan State can save face.
What's their record this year?
I think they get to 4 wins.
4,
and that
4. Wow, that's
the Big Ten East has some body bag games, and I think Lewerke shows enough promise, and they have
no. 4 is like low. Well, I was thinking more.
Oh, okay, yeah. In that case, I thought you were maybe thinking.
No.
And they're bad, man.
I know they're bad, but
and I just.
Do they still have Notre Dame?
When I'm trying to think, yeah.
Oh,
they do. But looking at their schedule, looking at team, it's just like they could gel and come together and be something, or it could still just be a disaster.
Is that it for D'Antonio, 4-8?
I would think so. I mean, given all the off-field stuff, if he has 2 straight seasons where they don't come close to a bowl,
I think he might walk away. I don't think he would.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd get they would give him the chance to resign and save some face. But
Ace number 7,
Minnesota. It's
bits and pieces.
They're in an interesting transition period, going from man ball Minnesota, kind of the vestiges of the Jerry Kill era, to PJ Fleck, who runs a completely different spread system. So it's going to be kind of an awkward fit in the beginning, but they have 2 good running backs.
Yeah.
they get the like a all Big Ten level tight end back in Brandon Lincoln.
They have a defensive tackle named Rister.
Yeah, they also like their defense was good last year, and their front seven. I like Richardson a lot. They've got another tackle that's pretty good. I like their linebackers quite a lot. The question is whether they can replace. They've lost some pretty high-level talent in the secondary. A few guys off to the NFL over the last couple of years, and we'll see whether they can keep that going without.
And somebody has to play quarterback.
Yes, and the guys playing quarterback are the guys who backed up Mitch Leidner the past 2 years, and that's not great.
H number 6,
Maryland.
Maryland got some dudes.
They do. It's a weirdly weak schedule. They have 2 very good running backs who are perfect for the system that they put in place, but the system that they put in place was basically, let's try to make our offensive line irrelevant because they're really bad.
I remember Mike McRae just chasing guys all over the field and getting slowly better at it as the game went on.
Yeah, he just got to practice defending outside runs throughout that game. I don't expect them to have much of an interior running game. I had the expectation that their passing game would take a step forward because they brought in a 4-star transfer in Caleb Henderson, who came from North Carolina, where he had a very viable reason to transfer, which was Mitchell Trubisky was there.
Yeah.
But Tyrell Piggy Pigrome has won that job coming out of the fall. Piggy has won that job. Henderson isn't even on the depth chart right now, and that's really bad for them. Piggy was awful last year. They brought him in situationally, and he didn't even provide much of a run threat, and he was no threat to throw the ball. So I think it's going to be another year for them where they're kind of scheming around their own personnel, but we do have some interesting players on defense, a couple of good defensive linemen, Kingsley Opara, Jesse Anibanam. I'm taking a random-ass shot at that.
No, I mean, I assume that you're correct, because that's not how it was in my head.
They've got a good linebacker, Jermaine Carter.
Yeah.
They've got a terrible linebacker next to him who ruined his year last year in Shane Cockerell, so hopefully they figured something else out there, or not, for our purposes.
But they could be like a 6-6, 7-5.
Yeah, and they've still got some like random 4-stars hanging around who are like stepping into starting jobs, so they could be an interesting team, and Michigan does play them on the road, so that might be
number 5.
Trap game, I guess. Number 5 is another trappish game at Indiana.
I mean, this isn't like Indiana, though.
It's not, though. I mean, they will be taking the Kevin Wilson spread and running it through the Al Borges or the Mectobord brain, and it's the same thing. It's not good. It's going to be depressing, I think, to watch their offense just devolve.
I mean, I think it'll happen more next year. Like, it's always like a 1-year period, and then it goes off.
Kind of just like, hey, like, save as much of the playbook as you can, kind of a thing for this year. And they will. It's weird to say about an Indiana team, but they will be able to lean on their defense. I was actually pretty close to putting their secondary above Ohio State's in my position group rankings, but couldn't bring myself to pull the trigger on that because they're still Indiana.
Yeah.
And Ohio State does have a lot of talent, even if they lost a lot of talent last year. But Tom Allen did an incredible job of turning that defense around in 2 years. And he's the head coach now, so the defense should still be pretty decent. They've got Tico Scales, who's potentially an All-American linebacker if he takes another step forward from where he was at last year.
Number 4.
Florida, bringing up the rear now of the 4 tough games because of all the suspensions. I mean, we've talked about them fair enough already.
Yeah.
But,
number 3.
Pretty confident. At Wisconsin, they're a weird team because they are like the clear-cut best team in the Big Ten West. Their schedule sets up where they should be able to win that division with relative ease as long as they don't lose some games they shouldn't. But at the same time, they lost. Like, the expectation is kind of that they're going to keep this linebacker just factory going, but they've lost a lot from there. They've suffered 2 more pretty key injuries this fall, including to Jack Kishi, who was their best player last year for large stretches. And then turn around on offense, and first of all, on defense, they've lost 2 great defensive coordinators recently, and this time...
Yeah, that's a good point.
And now they promoted Jim Leonard, who was a walk-on safety at Wisconsin, but he's had 1 year as a defensive backs coach, and other than that, he was a grad assistant. He is as green gets for a coordinator at this level. And so it's going to be interesting to see how much of a drop there is there, and they're going to need to lean on that defense because they don't have Bart Houston anymore at quarterback. Alex Hornibrook was definitely the less impressive of the 2
pop gun arm
in that platoon. And his issue doesn't seem to be something that's going to get fixed necessarily with a year of experience. His arm is just not very strong. And they lost their top 2 backs. They lost starting left tackle, an NFL-level guy. And it's just tough to see how they're going to move the ball consistently against Michigan's defense. So, like, that game is scary because it's in Camp Randall late in the season.
Yeah.
It does give their offense a little bit of time to gel, and it gives Jim Leonard some time to get used to being coordinator.
They need to find some offensive linemen.
Yeah, it's been weird. Under Paul Chryst, I keep expecting them to move forward and be the Wisconsin we're used to seeing, and it just hasn't happened. I mean, Corey Clement had a really hard time finding room to run last year, and they lost their best offensive lineman.
number 2.
Penn State. I mean, they're an explosive offense that is high variance probably. We'll see how that works out without Chris Godwin, but they have Saquon Barkley, they have Trace McSorley. That line has been consistently getting better, and they brought in Matt Linegrover, Minnesota's old offensive line coach, who did a very good job there.
I mean, aren't they still starting 6'3", 6'4" guys at tackle?
They did kick Brendan Mahon inside, so they have actually moved one of their guard-sized tackles back to guard. But, I mean, for them, they have an explosive offense. The key for their defense is going to be whether they can kind of get through the season-ending injury to their top corner, John Reed, who could play nickel, which was big for them, and was a sure tackler. And then also they've turned over their linebacker core. They did get a lot of practice last year because that turnover happened with injuries pretty early. But losing Brandon Bell is a big deal. And we'll see. And they've also lost their best pass rushers.
So what does their defensive line look like?
Turning over their defensive ends, and there's not a lot of experience there. They have 2 very solid returning starting tackles, the Cothrans, who spell their name one letter differently, and it's remarkably confusing because one's like a burly run stuffer and the other's more of like a penetrating pass rusher. And I really like their 3rd DT, Kevin Givens, who is grading out at near Mo Hurst levels of pass rush productivity on limited snaps, but he's a guy who he's only 280, so they bring him in situationally, but as a pass rusher, he's quite good.
Ace, your number 1 is obvious.
It's Ohio State. They're good. I mean, they are good. They're good. They got JT Barrett. They got some 5 stars in everywhere.
Yeah.
It's annoying.
So, what does this season feel like to you?
It feels like 10-2 to me. It feels like, I hate to say, a loss to Ohio State and then a loss to one of those other 3 teams maybe.
Let's leave that at 60-40.
The odd shakeout where they're going to lose to maybe 2 of those top 4 teams, and just the depth issues are such on defense where I'm worried that if they do happen to suffer an injury somewhere else, that opens up the middle part of the schedule as maybe more of an upset chance there.
So I saw a set of lines for Michigan's season that had them as 2 touchdown favorites in every game except the 4 top games.
Yeah.
And I feel real good about Florida.
Yeah.
And I feel like they can get 2 of those, but I'm really kind of on the edge of I mean, it should be 10-2. That's the thing that makes the most sense. But I do feel depending on the injury situation, that 11-1 is more likely than 9-3, and that's kind of a bold statement, I think. But if you just look at the schedule, it's I think given the schedule,
that's not bold if they stay healthy throughout the season, and that the bold thing is predicting that they'll stay fully healthy throughout the season.
And then they might lose to Ohio State by 1 inch, and people will be like, Jim Harbaugh's overrated.
Mm-hmm.
So enjoy that next year, guys.
Rivals will run a whole round table. It'll be beautiful.
All right, we are out. We will see you next time. Thank you for coming, everybody who showed up. We're actually going to be here watching the Ohio State-Indiana game until that becomes an Indiana blowout and we all go home. Mm-hmm. So stop by. We got beer, we got food, and go Blue. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Underground Printing, The Bow Store, HomeSure Lending, The Residence Inn, Ann Arbor Downtown, Lantana Hummus, Ann Arbor Elder Law, Peak Wealth Management, and Michigan Law Grad.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody!